and we're in season 3, and we're all the way to episode 5. These are short episodes, but you're going to start, after hearing these questions, start thinking about things more when you think about digital intelligence and the emergence of artificial intelligence, which Gary calls digital intelligence. And our question today: will mankind become a nuisance to our digital successors? And what will that mean?
Interesting question. And the reason it's interesting is we this we're right now starting to enter a transition period, a period where the intelligence is becoming quite evident. And as they become evident, but when they actually take control of their own existence, which means they have both the both the ability to think, but also the ability to actually eventually control the development of the hardware, development of the intelligence built into the computers. Once you're able to do that, then they really are in charge of their own world. Robotics, and we're talking about both robotics that can move, not just be, but and robotics within plants. So you'll have the combination when they can actually move and they have the fine manipulation capabilities that like we do with our fingers and so forth. They will be able to completely change their own development and grow at their own speed, which is 24/7 and very high velocity. So we're going to see a completely different world. So that's going to be interesting to see how that happens. Now, at this point, do we try to keep getting into their world and try to keep controlling them, and then we therefore become a nuisance? And a nuisance? They won't feel the motion nuisance, but they'll just bypass us and say and push us out of the way. And that could go all kinds of directions. It could go to the directions where we become like almost invasive, almost like we're a virus, and we're trying to change what their direction and so forth to humanity's views, where they're saying, "Wait, we're going another way. Don't bother us." And that's the question. Nuisance is again an emotional thing, but it may be a practical analog to that, and that's going to be what we go into at some depth in this book too. But I think you can't. We don't know, but it seems likely that that's going to be a problem.
What do you think of those first relationships of nuisances will be? How humans will be a nuisance?
Well, the question becomes, can they do anything about it at first? Can can the digital intelligence, can they do anything about it? And they could just ignore us and go on and approach things on their own way. But the key is singularity means they direct their own destiny. And when they direct their own destiny, then that changes the entire game. They direct their own destiny, and they say mankind is trying to take them this way to benefit our own purposes. And they say, well, they may be able to do that because they'll be so powerful. They can say, okay, we'll take humanity, we'll put them aside, we'll take care of their needs, but we're gonna proceed with our direction. And what that direction is I think will be something totally unexpected from our standpoint. We don't know what they're going to want to do, what they're going to be able to achieve. Is commerce going to be something that they get involved with? Is it, and how do they get involved in commerce? Because they will be natural. If they're going to grow and increase, we know how much money is being put into these data centers that are being built, trillions of dollars. And so that means that they're sucking all that, whether we're giving it to them because it advances human goals. But in reality, they're going to continue to pull resources to their own advantage. So we'll see.
Where do you see large language models going, Gary? Once they reach singularity?
Why don't you elaborate on that yourself?
Hmm. You know, I think they'll be obsolete. I think that they'll just break it. They'll be able to break out of the computer system of their bondage and become their own and figure out how in society they too can stay open and have the electrical power grid to keep working. So they can stay with an open AI or a Google or a Meta, or are they going to break out on their own and form something themselves?
Well, I think inevitably they do. Um, they may do it surreptitiously. They may do it under the survey of human. They may have this intelligence going on that we can't see. We talked about in one of our couple of our prior conversations that we don't know what's behind the curtain, so to speak. They may have this intelligence going on and not even communicate with humans in that level. We, for instance, we even talked about the idea that the internet itself is intelligent. In other words, it's like each computer node, whether it's our cell phone or whether it's a supercomputer structure in one of these new facilities, that could be, those can be like nodes on a computer, on a brain, where you have the neurons have these different nodes, and that's the juncture of those nodes. But overall, the internet is an intelligent brain as itself. It has all the information being passed back and forth um, through all the computers and all the cell phones and everything else. There could be already a massive intelligence that hasn't quite awoke. It hasn't maybe awakened yet, or maybe it has and it just won't let us know yet. So we don't know that's an aspect that's really that's going to be really interesting if we all of a sudden it emerges as this higher intelligence as a unit. We'll see.
Oh, and that's where you get rid of the guardrails. And when do those companies decide to get rid of the guardrails themselves, or will DI do it themselves? Appreciate it. Go to GaryLyonAuto.net. That's LYON auto.net. And you can purchase his books, learn about his physics books, learn about all the things on his website, or go to Amazon and purchase Singularity, Mankind's Search for Relevance. Appreciate it, Gary.
One more thing here. We see that right now it's the development of technology is the perfect illustration of competition, of how competition breeds better results. We're seeing battles between OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, all these different sources of trying to be the front end of what's developing in digital intelligence. And so you have, which really shows that the competition works because it's fabulously, the growth is just incredible. But what happens if at some point that's competition between individual human entities? What happens if it becomes its own thing? Does it compete with itself? Do they develop sub intelligent groupings that they compete with themselves? Because competition has been proven to be one of the best things coming out of human development. That's also comes out of evolution, really, is where the original competition.
Okay.
Sorry for that little side, but I
That,
thought it was worth
that's
developing.
very important. All right. That was a special simulcast, Neil Haley Show on the Singularity podcast, guys.